I threw myself a 30th birthday party. Nobody came. Then mom texted asking for $1,800. I turned 30 on a Tuesday. It was a rainy, gray Tuesday, the kind where the sky seems to press down on the city like a wet wool blanket. I had decided weeks ago that I wasn't going to let this milestone pass unnoticed. 30 felt big. It felt like the doorway into real adulthood, the shedding of the chaotic 20s. So, I decided to throw myself a party. I didn't expect a gala. I didn't expect a parade. All I wanted was a few hours of connection, a few drinks, maybe some laughter to mark the passage of time. I booked the back lounge of the Velvet Oak, a cozy, dimly lit bar with leather armchairs and the smell of old books and expensive bourbon. I ordered a custom cake, dark chocolate with raspberry filling, my favorite, and sent out the invites 3 weeks in advance. I invited my parents, my sister Sarah, my younger brother Ethan, and a handful of family friends I'd known since childhood. As the evening crept closer, I checked my phone repeatedly. I had arrived at 6:30 p.m. to set up. By 7 p.m., the official start time, the room was empty. The bartender, a guy named Davis with a beard that looked like it had its own zip code, polished a glass and gave me a nod. "Traffic's murder out there tonight, huh?" he offered. "Yeah," I said, smoothing the tablecloth for the 10th time. "Bridge is probably backed up." 7:30 p.m. My phone remained silent. No running late texts. No be there soon emojis. Just the glowing time on the lock screen, mocking me. 8 p.m. I started making excuses in my head. Maybe there was an emergency. Maybe the group chat didn't deliver the messages. But I knew that wasn't true. I saw the read receipts, blue checks, small, silent confirmations that they knew where I was, and they simply didn't care. By 9 p.m., the reality settled in like a cold stone in my gut. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't traffic. They just weren't coming. Davis walked over, towel over his shoulder. He looked at the pristine, uncut cake sitting in the center of the table like a tombstone. "You all right, man?" I forced a laugh, though it sounded more like a cough. "Yeah, just, I guess everyone got tied up. Life, right?" Davis didn't buy it, but he was kind enough not to say so. He poured a double shot of their top-shelf whiskey and slid it across the mahogany. "On the house. Happy birthday." "Thanks," I whispered. I drank it in one burn. Then I cut a small slice of the cake. I ate it alone, staring at the empty chairs. The raspberry filling tasted sour. I could feel the pitying glances from the patrons at the main bar, the whispers, the quick lookaways when I turned my head. At 10 p.m., I finally gave up. I paid the tab for the room rental, tipped Davis $50, and boxed up the remaining 95% of the cake. I walked home in the drizzle, the box damp in my hands. I checked my phone one last time before bed. Nothing. Not a single notification. I lay in the dark that night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the last decade of my life. I tried to find the moment where I became invisible to them. Was it when I moved out? Was it when I got a job they didn't understand? Or was I always just a utility to them? A tool that was only noticed when it was needed? A week passed. I went to work. I came home. I ate leftovers. The silence from my family was absolute. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, in the middle of a high-stakes quarterly review with my boss, my phone buzzed against the mahogany conference table. Then it buzzed again and again. I glanced down. A group text from Mom. I slid the phone into my lap, expecting an apology. Maybe a, "Oh my God, we mixed up the dates" message. Instead, I read, "Hey family, your dad's 50th birthday is coming up next month. We're going all out. We've booked the weekend at the Lakeside Resort. It'll be an unforgettable night of luxury. The cost breakdown is $1,800 per person for the suite and dining package. Please Venmo me by Friday so I can put down the deposit. Love you all. Let's make this special for Dad." The room around me blurred. The voice of my boss discussing quarterly projections faded into white noise. I stared at the screen. $1,800. They wanted $1,800. They hadn't texted me on my birthday. They hadn't shown up to the party I paid for. They hadn't even called to say hello in 3 weeks. But now, without preamble, without shame, they were demanding nearly $2,000 for a party celebrating the man who couldn't be bothered to send me a card. My sister Sarah chimed in immediately. "Already sent, Mom. Can't wait. Dad is going to love the spa package." My brother Ethan followed a minute later. "Sent mine too. Looking forward to the open bar LOL." I felt something snap. It wasn't a loud crack. It was a quiet, internal severance, like a cable finally fraying and parting under too much tension. For years, I had been the responsible one, the one who loaned money and never asked for it back, the one who co-signed, the one who picked up the check at dinner because Tim has the good job. I had trained them to treat me this way. I had taught them that my love was a currency they could withdraw whenever they pleased, without ever making a deposit. I looked at the phone. I thought about typing a furious paragraph. I thought about listing every grievance, every hurt feeling, every lonely birthday. But then I realized they wouldn't care. They would just call me dramatic. They would gaslight me. "Oh, Tim, you know how bad Mom is with dates. Oh, Tim, don't make this about you." So, I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I opened Venmo. I selected my mother's contact. I typed in the amount, $1. In the memo note, I wrote a single word, "Congratulations." I hit send. Then I opened my contacts. I selected Mom, block caller, block messages. I selected Dad block, Sarah block, Ethan block. I went to my social media, unfriended, blocked, restricted. Then I logged into my online banking. I had a joint savings account with my parents, a relic from when I was helping them manage the mortgage payments a few years back. It had about $12,000 in it, mostly my contributions for emergency house repairs. I transferred transferred every cent to my private individual account. I called the bank and removed my name from the joint file. I called a locksmith. I need my locks changed, today, within the hour. By 8 p.m. that night, I sat on my couch with a new key in my pocket and a digital fortress around my life. I felt a heavy, suffocating sense of relief. It was over. 2 days passed in silence. I knew it wouldn't last. I knew the beast would wake up eventually. It started with a notification from my bank app on Friday afternoon. Alert. Unauthorized attempt to access account ending in 4092 via telephone banking. I let out a dark laugh. They had tried to access the joint account. They had likely gone to the teller or called the support line, trying to figure out where the emergency fund, my money, had gone. I logged in and double-checked my security. Everything was locked down tight. Two-factor authentication, voice recognition, security questions that only I knew the answers to. I had changed mother's maiden name to a random string of characters years ago because Sarah knew the real one. A minute later, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again and again. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb and watched a movie. On the third night, the escalation began. It was 9:30 p.m. I was reading a book, enjoying the quiet, when a loud, rapid pounding shook my front door. It wasn't the polite knock of a neighbor. It was the authoritative, demanding hammering of law enforcement. My heart hammered against my ribs. I walked to the door and checked the peephole. Blue uniforms, badges. 2 police officers stood in the hallway. I unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door, keeping the chain on at first, then undoing it when I saw their hands resting near their belts. "Can I help you, officers?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. The taller officer, a man with a buzz cut and tired eyes, cleared his throat. "We received a welfare check request, a report about a missing person. Are you Timothy Blake?" I stared at them, blinking. "Yes, I'm Tim, but I'm not missing. I'm standing right here." The shorter officer flipped open a notepad. "Your family reported you missing, sir. They stated that they haven't been able to reach you for days. They expressed concern that you might be in a mental health crisis, or that you may have been harmed." I leaned against the door frame and laughed. It was a dry, bitter sound. "Did they also tell you I blocked their numbers on Tuesday?" The officers exchanged a look. The concerned family narrative was starting to crumble. "Block them, sir?" the taller one asked. "Yes," I said. "I haven't spoken to them because I don't want to speak to them. They aren't worried about my safety, officer. They're worried about my bank account. They've been trying to access my funds, so I cut off contact to protect myself." The officer's posture relaxed. He hooked his thumb in his belt. "So, to be clear, you are not in distress? You aren't being held against your will?" "I am watching Netflix and drinking tea," I said. "The only distress I'm in is having the police at my door because my parents are throwing a tantrum." "I understand," the shorter officer said. "Look, we have to clear the call. Would you be willing to call them, just to let them know you're alive? It would stop them from calling dispatch again." I thought about it. I thought about hearing my mother's shrill voice, my father's booming demands. "No," I said firmly. "I will not call them. If they continue to harass me or use police resources to stalk me, I will be filing a restraining order. Please note that in your report." The officers nodded. They looked relieved to not be dealing with a dead body or a hostage situation. "Understood, Mr. Blake. We'll inform them that contact has been made and that you are safe and do not wish to be contacted. Have a good night." "You too." I watched them walk down the hall. As I closed the door, the taller officer turned back. "Mr. Blake?" "Yeah? Just a heads up," he said, his voice dropping a decibel. "Domestic disputes over money. They get ugly. If they're willing to call us and lie about you being missing, they're desperate. Watch your back." I locked the door. I engaged the deadbolt. I slid the chain across. "Watch your back." I sat on my couch, adrenaline coursing through me. They had weaponized the police. They had tried to humiliate me or force me into contact through fear. For 2 days after the police visit, there was silence. The officers must have delivered the message effectively. "He is alive. He hates you. Stop calling." I almost began to relax. I thought foolishly that the shame of having the police reprimand them for a false report might have been enough to silence them. I was wrong. Saturday morning, 8 a.m. I was brewing coffee when the pounding returned. It wasn't the rhythmic knock of the police this time. It was erratic, angry. I checked the peephole. Mom, she was standing there, her face tight, lips pressed into a thin line that vanished into her skin. She was wearing her "let me speak to the manager" coat. I didn't open the door. I spoke through the wood. "Go home, Mom. Open this door, Timothy," she shrieked. Her voice was muffled but sharp enough to cut glass. "I know you're in there. Your father is beside himself. He thinks you've lost your mind." I opened the door 2 inches, leaving the chain on. I looked at her through the crack. "I haven't lost my mind. I found my spine." "How dare you?" she hissed, jamming her foot in the gap so I couldn't close it. "Calling the police on us? Telling them lies?" "You sent the police to my house," I corrected her, my voice ice cold. "You lied to them. You told them I was missing because I didn't Venmo you $2,000. "We are your family," she shouted, attracting the attention of my neighbor, Mrs. Gable, who cracked her door open down the hall. "You don't turn your back on family because of a little money." "A little money?" I laughed. "It's always a little money with you. But it adds up, doesn't it? It's the principle, Mom. You didn't even text me on my birthday. Tuesday. Remember Tuesday? The day I turned 30? Silence. But the second you need cash for Dad's midlife crisis party, suddenly, I'm the favorite son." "That was different," she snapped. "Your father deserves a celebration. He has worked hard his whole life." "He's worked hard at spending my money," I said. "I'm done. Get your foot out of my door." "You are not too old for me to what?" I interrupted. "Ground me? Hit me? I'm 30 years old. I own this apartment. You are trespassing." A car screeched to a halt at the curb outside. I looked past past her. My father was marching up the walkway, red-faced, looking every bit the disappointed patriarch. "Tim!" he bellowed before he even reached the stairs. "What the hell are you doing?" He reached the door, breathing heavy. "Freezing the joint account? That is theft. That is my money." "It was my money!" I shouted, finally losing my cool. I kicked the door wedge, forcing my mother to step back, and ripped the chain off to open the door fully so I could look him in the eye. "I put every cent in there for the house repairs you claimed you needed. Repairs that never happened. I saw the withdrawals, Dad. The golf clubs, the trips to Atlantic City. You stole from me first. I just took back what was left. We raised you," he shouted, pointing a finger in my face. "We fed you. We clothed you. You owe us everything." "I owe you nothing." I stepped onto the porch, towering over him. "I paid for the new roof. I paid for Sarah's wedding dress. I paid off your car note 3 years ago. I have paid for my childhood 10 times over. You're destroying this family," Mom wailed, tears finally springing to her eyes, weaponized tears. "No," I said. "I'm just stopping you from destroying me." Suddenly, a third car pulled up. Sarah, of course. The whole circus was in town. She stormed up the walkway, heels clicking furiously on the pavement. "Are you happy now?" she screamed. "Mom's been crying all morning. You ruined the weekend. We had to cancel the reservation because the deposit bounced." "Good," I said. "You're so selfish," she spat. "You always think you're better than us just because you got out, just because you have a fancy job." "I have a job because I work, Sarah. I don't leech off our parents who leech off me." "We're leaving," Dad said, his voice dropping to a dangerous low. He grabbed Mom's arm. "Let him rot. Let him see how far he gets without us. When he comes crawling back, we slam the door in his face." Mom turned back one last time, her face twisted with a mix of fury and genuine confusion. She truly couldn't understand why her appliance had stopped working. "You'll regret this, Tim. One day, you'll need us, and we won't be there." "I haven't needed you in 10 years, I said. "Don't hold your breath." They got into their cars. Tires screeched. Mrs. Gable watched from her doorway, wide-eyed. I went back inside and locked the door. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of finally saying the words I had swallowed for a decade. I sat down at my computer. I knew this wasn't the end. They were desperate. The deposit had bounced. That meant they were broke, really broke. And desperate people do dangerous things. A notification popped up on my phone. Alert. Credit report inquiry. Then another. Alert. Attempted password reset. Mortgage lender. My blood ran cold. They were trying to get into the mortgage portal. Years ago, when I was 24 and naive, my parents had begged me to co-sign on their mortgage refinancing. They had bad credit. I had stellar credit. "It's just a formality," they had said. "We'll make all the payments." I had done it. I logged into the mortgage lender's site. My password didn't work. They had reset it. I called the hotline immediately. "This is Timothy Blake. I'm the co-signer on the property at 42 Oak Street. I suspect fraudulent activity. I need to freeze the account immediately." "Verification code sent," the agent said. "Got it. Okay, Mr. Blake. I see here. There's a pending application for a home equity line of credit. A cash-out refinance. $50,000. My jaw tightened. They were trying to drain the equity from the house. Equity that was technically half mine. They were going to take 50 grand against the house, spend it on their lifestyle, and leave me on the hook for the debt. "Cancel it," I said. "I did not authorize that. And place a fraud alert on the account. No changes, no loans, no withdrawals without my in-person signature and photo ID. Done. We've flagged the application as unauthorized." I hung up. Then I called my lawyer, John. John was a shark in a cheap suit, a guy I used for business contracts, but he handled real estate too. "John, I need to invoke the partition sale clause," I said. "Whoa, Tim, that's the nuclear option. You want to force the sale of your parents' house?" "It's not their house," I said, staring at the wall. "It's our house, and they just tried to rob me for 50 grand in equity behind my back. I want out. I want my name off the mortgage, and the only way to do that is to sell it or have them refinance in their own names. They won't qualify for a refinance," John said. "We both know that." "Exactly," I said. "So they have to sell." "Okay," John said. "I'll draw up the papers. Demand for sale. If they refuse, we take them to court and the judge orders the auction. It gets ugly, Tim." "It's already ugly, John. Send it." While John drafted the legal nuke, I decided to assemble my own ammunition. They had called me selfish. They had said I owed them. I spent the entire Sunday going through my digital archives. I pulled bank statements from the last 5 years. I pulled credit card statements. I found the spreadsheets I used to track the loans I gave them. I started a new document, the ledger. Item 1, mortgage payments covered, 2019 to 2024. Whenever Dad forgot or was short, I paid. $1,200 here, $2,400 there. Total, $78,000. Item 2, Dad's SUV. He wanted the King Ranch edition. Couldn't get the financing. I put the down payment and paid the monthly note for 2 years until he promised to take it over. He didn't. Total, $15,000. Item 3, Sarah's wedding. It's her special day, Tim. You're the big brother. I paid for the venue and the catering. Total, $22,000. Item 4, Ethan's college tuition. Dad gambled away the college fund. I stepped in so Ethan wouldn't drop out. Total, $36,000. Item 5, emergency family support. Medical bills, car repairs, vacations they put on my card and promised to pay back. Total, $51,000. I stared at the final number at the bottom of the spreadsheet. $202,000. $202,000. I could have bought a house. I could have traveled the world. Instead, I had bought them a lifestyle they couldn't afford, all while they ignored my existence unless the check cleared. I saved the document as a PDF. I unblocked the family group chat for exactly 10 seconds. I uploaded downloaded the PDF. I typed one message. You said I owe you? Here is the receipt. $202,000. That is what you have taken from me. I want it back. The lawyers are serving papers for the sale of the house tomorrow. Expect the eviction notice soon. I hit send. Then I blocked them again. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. John called me the next day. They got the papers. Your dad called my office. He was screaming. Said he's going to sue you for elder abuse. Let him try, I said. Did you explain the options? Yes. Option A, they buy you out of your half of the equity. Option B, we sell the house, split the proceeds, and I take your $202,000 out of their share before they see a dime. And they don't have the money for option A, so it's option B. The war of attrition began. They refused to let the real estate agent in. I got a court order granting access. They vandalized the garden before the open house. I documented it and docked the cost from their potential share. They tried to smear me to the extended family. Aunt Carol called me, leaving a voicemail calling me a heartless snake. I emailed her the ledger. She never called back. The house sat on the market for 2 months. The tension was palpable. I heard through mutual acquaintances that they were spiraling. Dad was drinking more. Mom was having panic attacks. Sarah had to move back in with them because she couldn't afford her apartment without the allowance Mom used to slip her, using my money. Finally, an offer came in. It was low, but it was cash. Take it, I told John. The closing date was set. The day of the move-out was the day the reality finally hit them. They weren't just losing the house, they were losing the illusion. They had to sell the cars. The King Ranch SUV went first, sold to CarMax for quick cash to pay for a moving truck and a deposit on a rental. Then Mom's sedan. They pawned the jewelry, some of which I had bought them for Christmases past. On closing day, I didn't go to the title office. I signed my papers digitally. I didn't want to see them. John handled the disbursement. Because I was on the deed and the mortgage, the check came to the title company. They paid off the bank. Then, per the settlement agreement John had forced them to sign, under threat of a lawsuit for the $202,000 fraud theft, the remaining equity was divided. Normally, it would be 50-50. But because of the ledger, and because I had proof of the payments I made toward the mortgage that they were supposed to make, the judge had granted me a disproportionate share of the proceeds to recoup my losses. The wire transfer hit my account on a Thursday. $202,000. I stared at the number on my screen. It was a lot of money. It was life-changing money. But as I looked at it, I didn't feel rich. I felt exhausted. That money wasn't a lottery win. It was a refund on a stolen decade. It was the ghost of every vacation I didn't take, every car I didn't buy, every date I didn't go on because I was helping family. I sat in my apartment, the silence ringing in my ears. I got a text from Sarah. It went to my spam folder, but I checked it. You destroyed us. We are in a 2-bedroom apartment. Dad won't speak. Mom is a wreck. We have nothing. Are you happy now? I typed a reply, then deleted it. I typed another, deleted it. Finally, I wrote, I didn't destroy you. I just stopped holding you up. You have to stand on your own now. I didn't block her this time. I just didn't care if she replied. 6 months passed. I used the money to pay off my own student loans. I maxed out my retirement accounts. I took a trip to Japan, solo, and ate ramen in Tokyo, and watched the sunrise from Mount Fuji. I learned to breathe again. I hadn't seen or spoken to my parents since the day on the lawn. One Friday night, a colleague from work invited me out. Bowling, he said. Company league needs a sub. I hadn't bowled since I was a kid. Sure, I said. Why not? The alley was loud, smelling of stale beer and floor wax. Neon lights flashed, and pop music thumped from the speakers. It was chaotic and alive. I put on the clown shoes. I grabbed a ball. Tim, you're up. I walked to the approach. I lined up my shot. I took a breath, swung, and released. The ball hooked perfectly. Crash. Strike. Woo! Blake's a ringer! My boss yelled, high-fiving me. I smiled, a genuine, unforced smile. I turned to walk back to the seating area, scanning the room, and then I froze. 2 lanes over, lane 14. A man was standing there holding a ball. He was wearing a faded polo shirt that hung loose on his frame. His hair was thinner, grayer. He looked smaller than I remembered. Defeated. He rolled the ball. It drifted lazily into the gutter. He turned around, rubbing his face with a tired hand, and looked right at me, my father. The noise of the bowling alley seemed to drop away. We locked eyes. I expected anger. I expected him to march over and scream at me, to cause a scene. I tensed, ready to call security, but he didn't move. He just looked at me. I saw shock in his eyes, followed by a wave of shame so potent I could feel it from 20 feet away. He looked at my friends, laughing and high-fiving me. He looked at my clean clothes, my relaxed posture. Then he looked at his own scuffed shoes. He hesitated. He took a half step toward me, his mouth opening. I saw the words forming. Tim, son, please. I saw the regret. I saw the realization that he had gambled his relationship with his only competent child and lost. For a second, I felt a tug. The old conditioning. Go to him. Fix it. Buy him a beer. Tell him it's okay. But then I remembered the birthday. I remembered the $1,800 demand. I remembered the police at my door. I remembered the ledger. I looked at him. I didn't frown. I didn't glare. I just nodded once, acknowledging he existed, acknowledging I saw him. Then I turned my back. I walked back to my team. I picked up my beer. I laughed at a joke I hadn't fully heard. Who was that? My coworker asked, glancing over my shoulder. Guy looked like he knew you. I took a sip of the beer. It tasted cold and crisp. Nobody, I said. Just someone I used to know. I didn't look back at lane 14 again. When my turn came up, I bowled another strike, and for the first time in my life, I didn't look for my father's approval in the pinfall. I just watched them clear the deck, ready for a fresh set.